everybody, and welcome to the Board Game Geek Show for July 26, 2018. I'm your host, Scott Alden. And once again, I'm joined by my lovely co-hosts, Eric Martin, Lincoln Damhurst, and Steph Hodge. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hey, everyone.
Do we still look lovely despite the lack of sleep?
Yes. Unfortunately, Rodney is on assignment in Saskatchewan, so we'll see him next week at Gen Con. I apologize for everybody. We're a little tired. We were up at 3 a.m. my time. 4 a.m. for Eric, 2 a.m. for Lincoln, 1 a.m. for Lincoln, to watch the Spiel des Jahres award ceremony, which they live streamed this year on Facebook. And if you hadn't heard the news, the winners are Azul and Quacksalber von Quedlinburg, and we're pretty happy. Well, how about you guys?
Absolutely. I think any of the games that were nominated, if they had won, would have been great. They were all really good games.
I agree. I think there are a lot of great choices. The competition was fierce.
Based on what was chosen, Quedlinburg was definitely my choice, just for sort of fitting that audience. And while my heart wanted the Mind, I have played the Mind with too many people where it crashed and burned, and I expect that the jury does not want to take that chance. Even if only 5% of people don't have a good experience, that's going to be, I don't know how many tens of thousands of people. So let's go with Azul, which will be a guaranteed awesome gaming experience, although more typical of other games. So,
yeah, I think you're right. The risk for it not working out is pretty high with that game. Like, for me personally, my group here, Dallas, doesn't like it. Shocking, right? But Steph, you've played it over 200 times. Is that fair to say? Maybe 300.
I am well over 200 plays of the Mind, and I was really hoping for it to win, but I understand why not.
It doesn't affect your personal enjoyment of the game.
Absolutely not.
You still have the chance. I assume Steph and I will both continue trying to infect other people as much as possible. Yes. So carry on.
I liked on the live stream for the video for the Mind, they had a swirling vortex that was behind the game players, which was not. They did not do anything like that for the other games. And they were trying to hypnotize us, but I guess it didn't work.
Yeah, they had like they have like a music production track that plays with their videos, and I guess the Mind one was like a little creepier, kind of like eerie, mysterious music.
It's definitely a Vertigo.
Yeah, it was the poster for Vertigo, right? It was just spinning. It was great. But it was cool to see Wolfgang Warsch win for Quacksalber, which is that's a fabulous game too. I really like it. North Star has announced that they're printing that game and bringing it to America. So look for it soon, I guess, by the end of the year. We don't know for sure, but production things. And there's a lot of text to translate in that game, so I imagine that's going to take some work.
That's right. Well, Spiel has the files in English already. But of course, yes, producing that thing and getting it overseas is going to take a while. North Star most recently said November 2018 is when they expect it. Possibly October, but more likely November.
I wonder how the production run stuff works once the game is won. I'm sure it has to kick into high gear for Germany, so I don't know if they even have time to wait for the English one. That may be one reason why it's delayed. Plus, I'm sure other partners now that it's won.
Yes, we added a Spanish version to the database today. Just today. By chance, perhaps. There's a Spanish version announced. So.
Well, maybe we can print more 3D holders.
Oh, man.
We'll have to see if we can mass produce those things.
I got to do something better than ones those took forever. I finished the 4th set, so oof, a lot of printing.
So that wraps up a pretty busy month for us. Lincoln put out all the videos for the final Kennerspiel des Jahres games. Check those out on YouTube, on this channel, Board Game Geek TV. There's a lot of content to watch, guys, so maybe like 10 hours or so of it. Maybe more if you can count all the Spiel des Jahres and the discussion videos. Good job, Lincoln.
Thanks. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you're amazing.
So
you're a machine to get all of those out.
It was a lot of work, but it was really great. I'm really excited with mostly how everything turned out. I fouled up a couple of things. I was trying to be super creative with the zoom on Heaven and Ale, and I fouled up on a portion where Dave is describing how you trigger and activate things. It shows it again. He shows other examples after that, but I was like, ugh, I'm sorry, I picked the wrong zoom by accident and didn't catch it. So
I think you're your own worst critic, because I think it's amazing. So
Well, that was just frustrating for people who couldn't quite understand what was going on right there.
You always notice that those types of things anyway, where it's, 2 days later and you're just like, I can't reconstruct that now. And you just have to kind of go on with what you can. Yeah.
Now, if YouTube would just give us a way to upload a video in place,
I know,
where you can like preserve all of the information. But of course, I could see the problems with that, because you could then be kind of nasty and upload videos that people didn't, whatever. Lots of problems with uploading content and replacing content. But it's a minor problem. And like Lincoln says, there's like a explanation about the rule, like literally 30 seconds to a minute later with actual camera work showing it. So moving on to other news, big news. Asmodee is in, I guess it's a done deal, right, Eric? They're selling the company. They're selling, Eurazeo is selling Asmodee to another private equity firm.
Yes. Eurazeo issued a press release that they were in discussions with PAI Partners, which is a private equity firm in Paris, which is where Eurazeo is located as well. In discussions, exclusive discussions, which means that there are no other buyers on the market right now. And I guess there are certain French laws that relate to acquisitions of companies, because other companies in France have issued similar announcements when they are at this stage of a deal or potential deal. The deal is not done yet. They said they are in exclusive discussions to close this deal, which is valued at 1.2 billion euros or 1.4 billion US dollars. That's what we got right now. The press release had some announcements, how much their growth they've had over the years, what their general strategy was for acquisitions, and blah, blah, blah. And who knows? There we go from there. So possibly just a done deal on a handshake, and now you have to make it official. But as of yet, it's not closed.
Kind of interesting to see the whole process from, professional view of like, buying and selling companies, I guess, and then putting them all together and making a package, and then probably selling it for twice or 3 times or 10 times as much as what you paid for it. So that's kind of interesting from a business perspective.
It's awesome that has that kind of value. That was amazing. To me, that's an amazing valuation. I have no idea what it really entails, with all that stuff, but it sure seems like a lot of money.
Well, Asmodee has definitely put together the 4 cornerstones of gaming with Ticket to Ride and Carcassonne and Pandemic and English rights to Catan, all under one roof, which is kind of the entry point for so many people to the hobby. They have that for the U.S. market.
Plus
and
Fantasy Flight.
Yeah, plus many other language rights around the world for all those titles. So they put this together, and the potential that they keep building on. They continue at this time to have all these announcements of new digital versions of games. This has been one of the strongest sort of developments that they've had, is doing digital work, not just for their own titles, but for all sorts of titles from other companies as well. And obviously that's what they see as a huge area of growth, and that's part of the package that they're selling, is that potential growth. And they keep, adding things to it, even as this announcement is taking place.
I mean, obviously I don't have any idea how private equity stuff works like that, but wow, it's still amazing.
Yeah, it's just a little mind-boggling, our little hobby has grown up.
It's
all grown up.
It really has.
When you mention the word billion, that kind of just puts another little, like, what? After when you're doing tens of millions in sales, or 20 million, hundreds of millions, billions of sales. So that's really cool. So moving on to our everybody's favorite feature, the what have you been playing? Let's start with you, Steph. What have you been playing? I know I've seen you posting up a lot of stuff lately.
Well, actually, I just got yesterday Pantone. I don't know what you know about this game, but it's coming out at Gen Con.
Pantone is awesome.
It's so good. I all I knew was colors, and I'm like, I really need to try this game. So when I got it, I'm like, yes. And so what the game is, you have all these colors in front of you, and you have a clue of a person or a character from a book or TV show, and you have to select one of these characters to make a pattern or some sort of thing using these colors, so people might guess that you have Gollum on their card. So you go around the table, there's no clues yet, but if nobody guesses it, then you give your first clue. And if somebody guesses it, you'll get more points earlier than later in the round. And there's like 4 different clues that you can give out. And as the rounds go on, so I end up doing this 3 times. As the rounds go on, you get less and less color swatches that you can use. And it's just so much fun. And if you get it on your first guess of someone else's, you're like, yes! It's so satisfying.
Right, because the color swatches are just cards of color, right? There's no text or pattern.
There's
or
nothing.
anything.
It's just color. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I had Sonic the Hedgehog, and this was in the final round, so I could only use up to 3 swatches. I ended up using a blue swatch and a gold swatch, and Jess was guessing first. She got it. She just knew me. She's like, Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm like, yes! How did you know? Like,
that's right. Know your audience.
Know your audience.
I think there's also a mode,
Yeah.
like, so you're overlaying the swatches and making, like, kind of like the color. They don't combine, right? They're opaque. They're not transparent. So,
right, exactly.
But
They
there's a
don't
mode in the
combine.
game where
There's-
none of the
yeah.
cards can touch. Is that part of the... That's a variant in the game, right?
Oh, it could be. I didn't get that far. We just played the basic game so far, but I can't wait to play it more. It was amazing fun.
Yeah, it looks like a game I would be into. Do you remember Imagine, where you got to play with the shapes, the transparent cards, that you can make the shapes?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of
Yeah,
like
actually, I
that,
don't
but
think I played it,
it's
though.
more character driven, right? A little more pop culture.
Yeah, so like Spider-Man, you might use 3 swatches, red, blue, red, or something. You know, just kind of like trying to get the coloration so people can get Spider-Man. Oh, of course.
Of course. Yes.
Yeah.
From
So
little
that-
blobs.
It looked really great.
So that was
Well, hopefully
totally
we have
right
it at
up
the
my
Hot
alley.
Games Room. Well, hopefully we have it at the Hot Games Room next week at Gen Con, so we can play it, get a bit of test. Does it cost like $5,000?
Yeah.
That's right. And we'll have 2 copies.
Pantone swatch books cost many hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Cool, Eric. What have you been playing?
I have a video for Rüdiger Dorn's Mercado that I am going to be uploading shortly after we record this video. So I won't talk about that, because I talk about that for almost 20 minutes in that video. Instead, I've got Reiner Knizia's Lost Cities Rivals, a 2 to 4 player game based on the classic Lost Cities game. It is extremely familiar to people who play Lost Cities, and yet not at all similar. So it's sort of the usual Knizia magic, where you have a deck of cards. You're going to be playing cards in ascending order. Some numbers have the same order, so you can play the same number, and you're trying to build up as you build expeditions, and that's all familiar. But the big twist of the game is that now each player starts with gold coins, and you have to buy cards. You can't just take cards for free. You have no hand of cards. On a turn, you either flip a card into the common pool, or you start an auction. And you go around the table until everyone but one person passes. Whoever wins puts their money into a central pot, and they take as many cards as they want and add them to their expeditions. They don't have to take everything. They don't have to take anything. And they can take 1 card from the pot and throw it out of the game.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
if I'm already past that certain color, or I'm not in blue at all and everyone else is in blue, forget it. You're not getting that card. You just throw it out. And I've played twice, and unfortunately I've played with people who are not auction fans. So it's kind of soured the experience. This is my one game I am bringing to Gen Con that I want to
I would love to
play
play this.
with as many people as possible. I want to do an overview video just to talk about it, but I need fans. But what's weird is the 2 games I've played have been radically different in how they play out. Just, you know, the way the cards flip and what people are collecting, what you're trying for, and how you hold auctions and what you wait for. It's just very different, and you can see how it'd be very player dependent as you play on how you're holding auctions. And 2-player, I haven't tried that. Both games have been 3-player. So I don't know. I'm super, super excited to play more. And again, Reiner Knizia is amazing. I will just say that.
I love
It's-
auction games, so that sounds exciting to me.
Yeah, it's weird. It's so different. Oh, the main thing, you divide the deck into 4 piles. And when a pile runs out, you then divvy up the money that's in the central pot among all the players. So you will run out of money if you are not careful until things get redivided. So that's a whole timing issue as well, and how much you want to bid and how many cards are left. And there's the considerations on that, and trying to outbid other people, or I want to make you bid higher just so I can have free reign for the rest of the round. It's just all these little decisions in this tiny little game. So it's very small.
Is it a 2-player only, or is it multiplayer?
2 to 4. Yeah.
2 to 4.
KOSMOS, like usual. You start with some investment cards. There's no penalty for getting investment cards and not going on a trip. You just wasted your time or money. That's its own penalty. So it's the same and yet completely not the same.
What did you play, Scott?
Yes, I have put in 20 hours into the game called Sword and Sorcery from Ares Games, which is a dungeon crawl. And we kind of overlooked it last year because of a game called Gloomhaven. You may have heard of it. But Sword and Sorcery holds its own against Gloomhaven quite well. We have there's some very interesting things that it does, which I guess I didn't know they did until you start playing it. It wasn't apparent to me from the reviews that I've seen, but there is they have a very cool setup where you get a book of the map, right? And you build the map of the dungeon, right? And you see everything on the map, but you don't know what it does. And then when you go to that spot, you look up in another book called the Book of Secrets. And you sort of read like an adventure, like a choose your own adventure type thing. So there's definitely some choices to be made in the game that like have permanent effects in the game. So that's sort of kind of different for most dungeon crawls, right? It's not like, okay, you've done this, then you move on to this next one. It's very linear, right? But in this game, there's some branching paths of decisions you can make and we assume will affect the story later because you're basically taking notes that you have done certain things or not done certain things. And so it's very cool. The AI is really like a heuristic-based thing. So depending on their location and like what they desire to do, they will attack different kinds of characters. They do have a very good AI system in that game instead of just like move and attack. It's got like lots of cool little tweaks to it. So I've been really impressed with that. 20 hours. I'm not sure how long that will last with us. We're a very fickle group. We move on very, very quickly to other things. So I assume once after Gen Con comes back, I'll have a new load of games to try. But we're trying to stick with something, but we always move on.
That's right. There are multiple expansions you could pick up at Gen Con for that.
There's so many expansions for that game. So when the Kickstarter came with all of it, so I took it away off my shelf, but it used to sit right here, and it was like it's literally like a stack of boxes, like 3 feet high. So there's definitely a lot of content. The miniatures are really great. The card, the art, the characters are all cool.
3 feet high and rising.
3 feet high and rising. Yes.
So is it Tales of Arabian Night-ish in how you reference the other book and get
it's a little more like
it?
It's a little less individual. It's the party, right? So you're acting as party. However, there is a cool feature in the game that depending if the character is lawful or evil, or I guess it's law and bad or evil. I can't remember if it's chaos or something like that. You'll choose different paths in the book. Like characters will react to you differently. So it's not like what you're thinking of Adventures, Tales of Arabian Nights, but it's got a lot of story in the book. You read it, you make a decision, you move on. But it's very cool. Like I hadn't really seen anything like that. Maybe Gloomhaven has that. We've not finished Gloomhaven yet, so. But if you're done with Gloomhaven, check out Sword and Sorcery as an alternative to get your dungeon crawl fix with lots of combat and lots of crunching, like lots of dice rolling, lots of crunching, which is fun for me.
I wonder how many people have actually checked that box on Gloomhaven done. It seems like it's a couple of years worth of material in there.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of game in there. I know a couple people have finished it and who have even started going through a second time. So there's a product out there with removable stickers, so you can play it again, like and just start from scratch.
That's cool.
Anyway, it's a different feel. Gloomhaven has more of a hand management type system, whereas Sword and Sorcery has a time management system, meaning when you cast a spell or use a power, you have to wait for it to like cool down, right? You can't just keep doing the same thing over and over. It's just another interesting take on the whole dungeon crawl thing, which I thought was kind of done after Gloomhaven. I was like, I'm never going to play another one that's going to be as good as Gloomhaven, but Sword and Sorcery definitely holds its own.
That's cool.
So, Lincoln, what have you been playing?
We played Ignacy Trzewiczek's Detective, a modern crime board game this weekend, and we had played like the first case just as it was going to print, I believe, in April. And this is a convention campaign, I guess, or a case that you do. And so it's not as in-depth, and it's meant to go quicker. And it was really, really fun because Dave and Nikki are fantastic Law and Order and procedural show watchers. So they were like making all these leaps and go, this is what this is, and I'm on the other side of the table. I think Mike and I were both going, okay, cool, you guys got it. And it was really, really fun. I really look forward to actually playing it kind of is rough because I don't know that we know the answer for that first one because it was Nikki, me, and Scott playing that one, and we did terribly. This one we were much, much more on point.
Right, I remember we played, and we were kind of sort of doing some Law and Order type things, like we thought certain things happened, and they really didn't. And I remember our score was dismal, like poor. I don't remember the rating, but we were kind of like, oh yeah, we better try that again.
Well, we did, that was the thing. You have to like choose the right path. That's the way it works. It's a deck of cards that you will look up whatever portion. It's an interview with someone. It's evidence. And you look at the card and you get information. You can dig deeper. Obviously, in this convention case, it's not that deep because we kept wondering about this plaster footprint and cast. Like what's it? And you just wonder what the heck the deal is. But in the other game, you pretty much can dig in there. And the neat thing is, it's all your accounting is essentially done on a computer that you log into a website. It's the Antares database, and as you're doing things, you can add them, and it helps define how much information you got, so that it calculates your score, so that as you get fingerprints and we figured out something after we were done about 2 partial fingerprints, and I'm really excited about going further with that and seeing what that does in the real game, because wow, it was really kind of neat.
Yeah, the system is pretty fantastic. The website is great, and you can go back and review your information. Like you don't have to take a lot of notes.
Nope.
I guess you can kind of take notes. Ignacy was telling us make a mind map of all the things, but all the dossiers are easily accessible. Once you've found somebody, you don't have to copy it down. It's all right there on the screen.
So what's interesting is we're actually getting 2 copies. Oh, I just hit my microphone. Let me start that again. What's interesting is we're getting 2 copies of Detective for the Hot Games Room at Gen Con, and Ignacy talked about lending us iPads that I guess are going to be at the desk for the people who are running the room. Oh. And I don't know if you're going to run up to the room and enter stuff and then go back, but he talked about getting us iPads since you need this online component to track data and information, all that type of things.
Right. Yeah, you do need an iPad type screen. I wonder if you could do it on your phone. It's very, I don't know if they've made it phone friendly. But yeah, you kind of.
I'm sure you must be able to, but I don't know. I didn't try because there was no way I could see all. It is very it looks like a database website,
Yeah, it looks like BoardGameGeek.
It's actually pretty. They actually polished it up
better.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of dense information. I remember us reading and getting a clue from something in the backstory. So you really have to read that kind of carefully and and think like a detective.
In the one that we did, this one didn't have as much of it, but in the one that Scott, Nikki, and I played, we actually had you look up information on the phone. You find out historical information that can help apply to your case that you're investigating. This one didn't really. We did know some of it because it was. I don't want to spoil it because it's going to be probably the one a lot of people will play at Gen Con. But and a bunch of folks played it at Dice Tower Con as well because Ignacy had it there. But it seems neat because you could each have your own phone and do research information. You can give it to someone to look at while you guys look at other things and see how that information applies to the case with a piece of information from another part of the investigation. It's actually really interesting.
So to be clear, this is a custom-made standalone scenario that you could play in a couple of hours?
Yeah, he said basically 90 minutes. It took us a little more than that because there was some kind of rules explanation that you kind of need to do. I mean, even though we'd played it, there were a few disconnects that we just weren't making it like how this actually works a little bit at first. But I'm sure it's a little bit more. I don't really remember exactly how it started on the other one, but it is very, very well done. It's there's a lot of information. We actually part of the fun was Scott was saying how we made all these, like TV show kind of investigative decisions, but it's like we had this one that made a lot of sense to us, and it was a complete rabbit hole.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of red herrings in the game. For the standalone scenario, did you see every card, or was there did you run out of time and you couldn't investigate everything? Is it replayable? You could go different ways.
I don't know. I mean, it's not super deep, so I don't imagine that you would really want to do it because it's a very light case. It's almost weird that it's almost weird that it's Antares doing it, because how does that work into a national investigation thing? It really does seem like a police investigation, but it's giving you the essence of what the game is,
which I suppose is similar to the Time Stories convention scenarios. I mean, Space Cowboys created a bunch of those where they'd use them only at conventions because, of course, you can't play the actual scenario at a convention, because why would you buy it?
I never even got to try those, because when we did it for Game Night, they just said do 25 hours or something like that. So, and this one is a limited amount of time, and that's what, you're dealing with, managing your time. But it doesn't have... we definitely didn't look at all the cards. I mean, we looked at the cards afterwards to see what was in there. We pretty much saw the important things. There was one little path that we took that I think 75% of the group was like, we don't need to look at that, but the 25% won out and we looked at it. So we wasted a little bit of time there, but it didn't matter. We had the time. That was what was interesting.
Right.
I'm sure it's meant to be a little bit more likely for you to succeed at it, right? Because it is more like a Law and Order type investigation.
That's right. But you get to see the plunger.
Yes.
So.
The plunger. Yeah, I have the wrong personality for these kind of games. Like, when I play video games, I inspect every little nook and cranny to try to find stuff. And this game, at least the full game, you can't do that. So I guess you could if you just wanted to ignore the time constraints, but then you're kind of fighting the game designer, right? So I always have that problem with Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective as well. I want to see all of the different pieces and parts to it, whereas if you play it to win, you have to beat Sherlock Holmes, and Sherlock Holmes has perfect information, right? He knows exactly where to go and has the perfect path, right? And so you're comparing yours to that. But that's the game part. So I don't know. It's a cool system. I'm looking forward to playing the full game. By the way, we got Detective here at the house, and I tried to entice my game group to play it. But no, Sword and Sorcery won out, and so we went into the dungeon instead of the gritty world of Detective.
So you're not that fickle. That's right. Stuck with Sword and Sorcery.
So moving on to Kickstarter news. If you're not saving money for Gen Con, or if you have any money left after this month of amazing, huge, giant Kickstarter releases, Eagle-Gryphon Games is coming out with a new game called Escape Plan, designed by Vital Lacerda, and art by Ian O'Toole, which is pretty amazing looking from what I've seen. It's a game about
beautiful.
cops and robbers. You're the cops trying to steal, do a bank robbery. I think it's semi-co-op. I couldn't quite figure out if you have to work together or not, but you definitely are scoring for yourself, so it is competitive. Looks pretty cool. What do you guys think? Have you seen it?
All I know so far is we were at Origins and we wanted to get a demo on camera, and it was spread over 6 feet of table, about 4 feet wide, and they're just well, we can't really, it's going to be tough. And things were changing still at that time. That was before the Kickstarter launch, so later. That was all I saw.
Well,
which makes sense
cool.
with the Vital Lacerda
Do they
game.
sell the table add-on as a stretch goal? More loose for your table? Wow.
They should. There should just be a special Vital table that's just called that brand, and you have to get that when you buy one of his games.
We can talk to one of the table manufacturers. That's probably a good
They
model.
should do that. Lacerda. Lacerda sounds better.
Yeah.
Sounds more
The
table-y.
Lacerda. Yeah, the Lacerda. So finally, in BGG news, we have launched the new image pages for the website redesign. Go check those out. Any image on the Board Game Geek website is using it now. So if you've got some opinions on what we could do better or improve it, please leave us feedback. There's a thread pinned to the front page of Board Game Geek. Also, next week we are going to Gen Con, so come watch us again, like, yes, on this TV, on this channel, over at Twitch, actually, twitch.tv/BoardGameGeekTV. I think we're going to do a live show on Thursday at 5:45 p.m. Central Time, or is it Eastern?
It's
Eastern time.
Eastern Time. I could never keep track of all of our time zone changes. Anyway, so hopefully you'll watch us. We're going to talk about some stuff that we've seen at Gen Con, of course. We're all excited. And we'll see you online, everybody. Thank you to my lovely co-hosts, W. Eric Martin, Lincoln Dammers, and Steph Hodge.
Yay! Thank you.
We'll see you next time.
See you guys in a week.
See you in a week.
Bye.
Bye.